The Master Tavern Keeper's History of the Old World. And so, let us continue our eavesdropping in on the conversation that young Hans Voigt overheard between his guardian, the Dwarf Envoy Brok Goldhorn, and the Guildmaster of the Sea Engineers of Barak Varr, Dammin Cragbrow, back in the year 1499. The ambassadorial residence of Brok Goldhorn, Barak Varr, 1499. Avast, Goldhorn. As you can see by these schematics, in the future we foresee that our army of the sea will solely and wholly be composed of great silver steel vessels, gigantic paddle steamers clad in thick metal armor, powered by turbines and the aforementioned big-hipped steam engines. The mainstay of our fleet will be ships that we're calling ironclads. It's as good a name as any, I suppose.
By these diagrams, they appear to be enormous.
Aye, and we envision that each ship will probably take years to make, but the effort will be worth it. And I'm so confident in our designs that I'd wager there isn't a bilge-sucking enemy in the whole old world who could even board, never mind capture one. See, they'll be sealed tight. No way in for either the waves or any scallywag enemy sailors. See, these hatches here, and here, and here. We can open them up from the inside, but they can't be opened up from the outside. At least, not without the right combination.
What are these upturned pot-shaped houses? Here, and here. The ones with pipes sticking out of them. Those on top of the decks of this ironclad. Are they cannons? If so, these will be very well-armed ships.
They most certainly will be. These are turrets that are fitted for heavy artillery. There will be hydraulically driven weapon mounts filled with batteries of cannons that can be rotated a full circle to fire on any target. Mark well that these are the two primary turrets. The big one at the fore and its sister at the aft, I mean. These are one of our latest innovations. Each turret will carry a pair of something we're calling Tempest cannons. Heavy cannons. Big guns, if you like. By which I mean weapons with a wider bore than our standard field cannons. Weapons that'll rip gigantic holes in enemy shipping. But mark also that these are not alone in their stalwart duty. Look at what's behind each of the main turrets. Yes, that's right, a second turret. These'll house a narrower gauge cannon. The beardlings in my forge are calling these breaker cannons. It's as good a name as any, I suppose. Avast though, there are also casements on both port and starboard that can mount up to 4 breakers. Not only that, our current schematics include a good number of gun ports that'll be usable by crossbows, volley guns, and swivel guns for the crew to shoot out of during boarding actions. I can already see the looks of shock upon our enemies' faces. Avast, avast! Swim for your lives! The dwarves are coming! Hello, we are currently in the process of field testing these new cannon types as part of the coastal defenses of the hold. You can see the schematics here.
Bah, Grugni's hammer, what is that? The gauge of that cannon is enormous.
Shiver me timbers, even I for the details, Ambassador. Aye, that is gonna be the crown jewel of the coastal artillery batteries, and it is huge. We've not named it yet, but Grugni's hammer, as you just said, seems perfect. We're also experimenting with flame weaponry to bolster these cannons, as most of our enemies do seem to like floating around on bits of wood. This is an area where some of the expertise of the engineers of Karazakarak would be appreciated. A point we can perhaps negotiate later.
That we can, Guildmaster. That we can.
And as an extra dollop of security, we're also in the process of creating a secure place to house the guild's Anvil of Doom, so that it can overlook the harbour. I think a wall of cannons and an Anvil of Doom are enough to spell doom for any sea-borne invaders. And, as you no doubt saw after your dangerous journey down here on the Howling River, the port is largely impervious to attack by landlubbers. Ha! As the armies of that undead whisperer, Caden, found out 2.5 millennia back. Just think about it, Ambassador. First of all, any army would have to quell the raucous Umgi tribes of the border princes, and then, when they reached the Varenka Hills, they'd have to go through many narrow tunnels, breach the iron walls, and then break through our impenetrable gates to get to us. It's not impossible, but it won't be easy. And so, with that unlikely eventuality duly considered, we're currently lining these areas with traps, as well as reinforcing the permanent defenses. None of our foes are getting in here. At least not afore the end times come.
Impressive, Guildmaster. Most impressive.
But back to our boats. Although these new ironclads will be the backbone of our reinvigorated fleet, we think that they'll not be the most numerous vessels of our navy. Perhaps only 6 will be plenty. But from a logistical angle, we reckon that a selection of smaller boats in support of these larger vessels will be needed, with maybe as many as 4 dozen of these needing to be made.
And what will these look like, Guildmaster?
Lo, there are 2 that are currently in the planning stage. The larger of the pair we are calling monitors. These are like smaller ironclads that we can use to patrol rivers and inland lakes, but also employ to head out into the Black Gulf herself. Obviously, they'll carry less fuel than an ironclad, so they won't be able to go too far without needing to refuel, but that will not be their role. These 2 will be fully enclosed with a single cannon at the fore and aft, and the aforementioned gun ports on either flank. These will be steam-powered, as you can see here on this schematic, with its engine driving 2 great wave-churning paddle wheels at the back there. These paddles are its sole form of propulsion, so we're planning to house them in steel guards and bury the boiler that'll need to power them deep in the ship. As these are smaller, we foresee them operating either in independent packs, indefatigable sea walls if you like, or when part of a larger contingent, directly supporting the ironclads. The second type are smaller still. We're calling them gunboats at the moment, and they're for protecting river traffic from pirates, bandits, and orcs. Essentially, they're like their larger cousins, being steam-powered and armor-plated with small paddle wheels on each side, and again with their steam engine amidships in the centre of the boat. These won't be heading out into deep water. Aside from patrolling the rivers, we expect them only to be deployed along the coast and to directly protect the harbour in times of need. They really will be quite small, so their crews won't be large. Probably just its shipmaster, an engineer, a gunner, and a couple of marines.
Again, impressive. But in order to reinvent your navy, what do you need from the High King?
Lo, in essence, just a couple of things. Resources, for one. We'll need a heck of a lot of steel, for example. And we'll also need the expertise of certain members of your engineering guild up in the Everpeak.
And what is in it for Kalazakarak?
How does exclusive contracts, access to the new trading routes across the world that we will open up, and full disclosure of what we find as we explore sound? There'll be more, but that'll all be for the negotiating table.
We are interested. I look forward to getting into the minutiae.
No doubt.
There is one last thing that you mentioned that has also caught my interest, Guildmaster. What are the boats that you described as being the more ephemeral stage of development?
Now, let me first say that even the ironclads that I just spoke of are probably a few centuries away from becoming a reality. I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of my son's sons that builds the first. Such are the logistical and mechanical problems that need to be overcome. Although now, with your help and the patronage of the High King, at least the hurdle of resources is no longer a hurdle. But yes, beyond that, we do have even grander designs.
Please continue, Guildmaster Cragbrow.
The first of these is an even larger, by which I mean at least twice as big, version of the ironclad. It'll be able to house well over 100 dwarves. These are something that my young son Horsa has named the Dreadnought. These will be veritable floating fortresses, festooned with the largest turreted cannons that we can create. But who knows if anyone will ever build one? Such will be the difficulty in creating each and every vessel. By the briny deep, we've not even been able to complete a viable design. It'll take a finer mind than mine to do that, methinks. However, the idea is there, sketched out in rough in the workshop, and if one ever does get built, it'll be a mechanical marvel, unlike anything in the known world.
I'm sure if anyone can do it, it'll be a Cragbrow.
Thank you, Ambassador. We do have one more idea, even more outlandish than the Dreadnought. Though, you may or may not know that I helped design and build some small, submersible mechanical suits used in the most recent expedition to Barak Varr. They were like upturned boats with mechanical arms that trap a pocket of air in them and allow a Boki, yes, a simple miner, to head underwater. They were used to both enter the lake and delve into the flooded mines in search of lost treasure. I hear they even managed to do some mining with them. Alas, the expedition was discovered by the Ratmen, resulting in the loss of the prototypes and the death of many of the expedition. But the survivors gave us some good feedback on the submersibles. This has given rise to the idea of building large submersible vessels. We worked up some drafts for something we are calling a Nautilus, a ship capable of traveling beneath the waves, but As yet, the problems of creating it are insurmountable. It is perhaps an idea ahead of its time. But again, the sketches and notes are in our vault for a future generation to take up the gauntlet and make one. There, that's all. Another drink, Ambassador?